The opening text states that the term Sisu is Finnish and has no direct translation, but it is essentially a force of unstoppable determination that emerges when most necessary. A narrator then starts by stating the end of World War II. The terms of peace forced Finland to cede some of the Karelia territory to the Soviet Union. As a result, 420,000 Finns were forced to leave their homes and move to the Finnish side of the new border. 1946, Otami Korpi and his dog drive to the Soviet side of the border. At the border checkpoint, his truck is carefully checked by Soviet soldiers, and he is asked for his passport. Strangely, the soldiers hold on to Otami's passport for too long and seem to know something about him, but they eventually let him pass. Chapter 1. Home. Otami crosses into the Soviet side of the border and drives through the empty and war-torn land. He goes back to his old home, where he used to live with his wife and 2 sons. Both his wife and children were killed by Soviet soldiers during the Winter War, as he was a Finnish commando. Otami goes into his house and breaks down in anger at the sight of his children's carving on the wall. He then goes to his old bedroom, where he finds a picture of his family, which makes him sob even more. In a Siberian prison, a former Soviet Red Army commander, Igor Dragunov, is freed from his cell. He is brought to meet with a KGB officer who knows that Dragunov was responsible for the murder of Otami's family and many innocent civilians. In the conversation, Dragunov even confessed that he killed Otami's family by hacking them into pieces with a shovel in order to save a bullet. This fueled Otami's rage and turned him into an unstoppable killing machine. As a revenge for his family, Otami killed over 300 Red Army soldiers and became a legend known as Koshchei, the Immortal. The officer informs Dragunov of Otami's return to Soviet land 10 hours ago, and he orders him to kill Otami and destroy his legend for good. In return, he will be freed and go back to his home a rich man. Elsewhere, Otami breaks down the wood from the house and stows it on his truck to bring it back to Finland and build it there. After finishing stowing his home on the truck, Otami begins driving back to Finland. After he drove for a while, he sees that one of the roads is blocked by 2 Soviet soldiers. Chapter 2. Old enemies. The soldiers don't move their car and instead get out. Otami then sees another car slowly pulling up from behind before one of the soldiers asks him for his passport. Otami hands in his passport, and the soldier brings it to the car behind, and it is revealed to be Dragunov and his men. Dragunov quickly recognizes Otami and says that the legend has been homesick, and that is all that is left from his life before. He orders one of his men to do his job. The man walks by Otami's truck and starts to talk with one soldier as Dragunov speaks with the second soldier. Otami starts to sense danger and gets ready. Dragunov's men then light up a Molotov and approach Otami's truck as the soldier behind goes to blow up his tire. Before Dragunov's men can throw the Molotov, Otami opens his door and hits him, causing him to burn himself. Otami then quickly reverses his truck and runs over the soldier behind halfway, and then revs his truck up so the guy flies back into Dragunov's windshield. The soldier in front fires at him, but Otami grabs him through the window before he drives his truck through the car in front. Otami then gets the soldier in the truck and punches him, knocking him out. Dragunov sends more soldiers in a truck after Otami before he himself goes after him. In the truck, Otami takes the soldier's rifle and pistol. After driving for a bit, Dragunov and his men find Otami's truck parked on the road, seemingly after it had broken down. The soldier Otami grabbed runs out of the truck wearing his clothes, and Dragunov's men immediately shoot him dead, thinking it was Otami. Suddenly, Otami shoots all 3 soldiers dead in a matter of seconds. He then reveals himself and points the rifle at Dragunov and his last men. Dragunov orders his men to keep still, but when Otami shoots one of their tires, the soldier tries to shoot back, and Otami shoots him dead too. Otami ends up leaving Dragunov alone, not recognizing who he is at first. He then goes up to his truck and takes off a burning bush from his truck that he had set up, so the soldiers think that his truck broke down. Otami then gets back to his truck and drives away. After a few minutes, Dragunov is met by comrades on motorcycles and continues his pursuit. Otami, knowing that more soldiers will come after him, takes a detour through an abandoned airstrip. Dragunov and the bikers drive through the road, and Dragunov quickly sees that Otami has gone through the airstrip and orders the bikers to go through there. Chapter 3. Motor Mayhem. The bikers catch up to Otami and start to drive up to him from both sides. He tries to shoot one of the biker soldiers, but he doesn't do any damage as they are all wearing bulletproof helmets. The biker then shoots at Otami with a double-barrel shotgun and manages to hit him in the cheek, nearly making him crash, but Otami takes control and drives his truck back on the road. One biker jumps onto Otami's truck and tries to attack him by using the truck's winch, but Otami swerves his truck, making the soldier fall off. The soldier survives at first, but is then run over by Dragunov. A second biker tries to shoot at Atami from the side, but Atami hits one car on the road, making the biker crash and blow up. A third biker jumps onto Atami's truck and nearly kicks him out while the fourth biker tries to shoot him. But Atami quickly disarms him and grabs the third biker's grenade and sticks it in the fourth biker's wheel, making him fly off his bike and get blown up into pieces. The last biker tries to push Atami off the truck, but Atami grabs his truck winch and wraps it around the biker's neck and pushes him off the truck. Atami then turns on the winch, which slowly pulls in the biker soldier into the truck until it decapitates him. Seeing all his biker soldiers dead, Dragunov throws a Molotov at Atami's truck and starts a fire in the woods. Seeing the fire spreading, Atami throws the body of the beheaded biker onto Dragunov's windshield after pulling the pin to the grenades the soldier was carrying. Dragunov quickly jumps into the back as his car blows up. Atami then drives his truck through trees and bushes and manages to put out the fire spreading through the woods. Dragunov manages to survive the explosion, and he orders reinforcements to unleash hell. Meanwhile, Atami stops his truck and puts out the rest of the fire from the woods before he cools off his truck's engine. He then sits for a moment and spits out one of the double-barrel shotgun shells lodged in his cheek. 2 fighter jets then fly overhead to hunt Atami. Chapter 4. Incoming. He gets back behind the wheel and starts to drive away as the jets go after him. They open fire, but Atami manages to evade them. He then sees a barn nearby and briefly hides there. The jets continue to fire at him, and Atami sees a wooden board there in the barn. Meanwhile, one of the jets takes a dive at the barn and drops an explosive just as Atami quickly drives out of the barn while he covers the woods with the board he found in the barn. The jets continue to attack as Atami drives into the woods. There, one of the jets flies in between the woods while firing at Atami, but Atami suddenly stops his truck, leading the jet's wing to get clipped and send the pilot into a fiery crash. Atami waits until it's safe and quiet to keep going. The second fighter pilot returns and comes up on Atami from the side of a cliff. He again opens fire on Atami, but he runs out of ammo, so the pilot ejects himself and lets the jet fly towards Atami's truck. Atami quickly shoots one of the straps of his truck, then hits the brakes, sending a few pieces of wood forward to make a ramp and send the jet back up briefly before it crashes down and blows up. The pilot lands and tries to shoot Atami with his pistol, but misses him multiple times. Atami starts to approach him to kill him, but before he does, he hears a heavy engine roar from the distance. The pilot there smiles, and Atami turns around to see a big bomber plane coming for him. He quickly gets back in his truck and starts to drive away as the bomber plane drops multiple explosives, killing the pilot on the ground. The explosion also causes Atami to drive the truck off the cliff and into the ocean. The truck starts to sink fast, but Atami gets himself and the dog free. Not wanting to let the woods of his house sink, Atami dives deeper and frees the woods from the straps so the woods float up, and he swims up at the last second before he runs out of oxygen. Later, Soviet soldiers search the ocean, and they report that there is no sign of Atami in the woods. Elsewhere, Atami makes a raft from the wood and goes up to a shore where he comes upon an abandoned tank. Chapter 5. Long Shot. Atami gathers a ton of explosives as he drives his tank toward the Soviet border, where Dragunov and a bunch of Soviet soldiers are waiting for him. He stops for a moment before he lights up the fuse to the explosives he gathered, which he strapped to the back of the tank. He starts to drive up to the border as the Soviet soldiers open fire at him. Atami picks up speed by spitting fuel into the engine, and just as he reaches the border, the explosives go off, flipping the entire tank over the border and over Dragunov's head. The tank crashes and breaks apart on the Finland side. Atami is hurt from the crash, and he takes off the handle from his hand knife before he does something not seen to the camera. Outside, Dragunov and the Soviet soldiers wait for him, and Atami lets his dog go free. Atami then crawls out of the tank, badly hurt. Dragunov goes over to him and prepares to execute him, but a bunch of KGB officers arrive and tell Dragunov that they want him alive. Dragunov obeys the order and drags Atami back to the Soviet side of the border. He tells him that there is no place like home before he knocks him out. Atami is taken prisoner on board a train heading back to Siberia prison, where he is brutally whipped in the back by an electric cable, leaving bad lacerations on his back. Dragunov enters and speaks with him. He tells Atami he is the man who killed his family, which he recalls because the only face Dragunov ever remembered was that of Atami's oldest son, who stood before Dragunov to protect his mother and baby brother. He tells him that he also took out a knife and almost took one of his eyes. Dragunov brags about how he chopped them up into pieces and fed them to stray dogs, then tells Atami that he is an abomination of his work and not some great legend. He tells him that no matter how strong he is, they will beat the legend out of him in Siberia until there is nothing left, not even his memory. Dragunov tells him that he is going to learn in the coming years that Siberia prison is a very bad place to be immortal. After Dragunov leaves, the fire inside Atami is reignited, and he pulls the chain hard with all he has until he breaks free from his binding. The guards outside hear this and check through the door opening to see Atami free from his bindings. Both guards are scared to go in and put him back in his chains, so they play rock, paper, scissors. Meanwhile, Atami pulls a knife out of his leg that he buried when he was in the tank. One of the guards enters as the second guard locks the door. After a few seconds, the guard outside hears his comrade scream. He checks through the opening and sees the guard fine. He asks him if everything is okay, and the guard nods to him. But as soon as he opens the door, he finds his comrade has been chopped in half by Atami. The other guard jumps off the train to avoid getting annihilated, only to get killed by a tree. Atami slicks his hair back with blood, and he gets ready for Chapter 6. Revenge. On the front cart of the train, Dragunov is having a feast with the KGB officers as a celebration for catching Atami. Dragunov asks for his money as he would like to be on his way. The officer tells him that he will get his money, but says they must celebrate first. Meanwhile, Atami makes his way to the next cart and finds a pickaxe on the way. He gets to the first cart, where he finds a bunch of sleeping soldiers. Atami quietly and successfully makes his way through without waking up any soldiers. He gets to the second cart, which is also filled with sleeping soldiers. But unlike the first cart, this one is more difficult. As Atami is making his way through, one soldier enters the room and spots him. Before the soldier can notify his comrades, Atami throws his pickaxe and impales him against the door. A second soldier spots him, but Atami flips his bed and stabs him with his knife repeatedly until the soldier is dead. Unbeknownst to Atami, the blood of the dead soldier starts dripping on the sleeping soldier below. Atami continues to move forward, and one of the soldiers drops a bottle of whiskey, forcing Atami to walk on the shards of glass. The blood of the dead soldier continues to drip on the soldier below before he falls on him. This wakes up all the soldiers, but Atami makes it out before they can spot him, and he locks the door with his pickaxe. Unlike the other two carts, the third cart is filled with armed and active soldiers. Seeing this, Atami climbs up the roof and starts to make his way across. Just before he can get down, he gets hit by a pipe, which drops him inside the cart of the active soldiers. One soldier tries to shoot him on the spot, but Atami uses the pipe to block the bullet, which diverts the bullet into hitting another soldier. Atami then snatches the soldier's rifle and kills 3 more soldiers and takes cover with their bodies as the rest of the soldiers open fire at him. After the soldiers stop firing, Atami gets out of his cover armed with 2 rifles. He sprays the rest of the soldiers with bullets and kills each and every last of them as they desperately try to escape. Eventually, Dragunov overhears the commotion and goes to check. On the next cart, soldiers are waiting for Atami, guns pointed at the door. But Atami bursts in while using 2 dead soldiers as a cover. He then uses his rifles to unload a rain of bullets on the soldiers and tears through them as they frantically try to hide and escape. Dragunov sees that Atami has escaped, and he uncouples the train, leaving Atami behind. There, Atami sees a covered object, and he takes off the cover to find a gigantic missile. Meanwhile, Dragunov gets back to the KGB officers and slashes one of the officers' throats before he shoots the other 3 dead. The main officer gives him his money, and Dragunov thanks him by shooting him dead with a double-barrel shotgun. Back on the rest of the train, the rest of the sleeping soldiers break through the door and go after Atami. But they find the missile starting and get incinerated by the flames before the missile shoots off. Atami rides the missile toward Dragunov at an incredible speed. When he reaches the rest of the train, Atami shoots off, crashing through the doors and windows, and reaches Dragunov's cart. The two immediately engage in a bloody fight, with both men giving it their all. But due to his injuries, Atami gets overpowered and beaten. But despite this, he still gets up and fights, and still manages to hurt Dragunov. Ultimately, Dragunov overpowers him again and hits him multiple times with a metal pipe, incapacitating him. He then gets a shovel and tells Atami to look at him before he hits him back to the missile. Atami is badly hurt and incapacitated. Dragunov gives Atami a last chance to spit out his last word, but Atami spits out a bolt that he took off the missile's holding. The missile comes loose and moves toward Dragunov, who runs to the end of the train. Atami stops his cart and watches in the distance. The missile gets very close to Dragunov as he prepares to die, but stops at the last second. Thinking he survived, Dragunov smiles, but the missile gives one last push and drills into his skull before it explodes gloriously. Atami watches from a distance as the flames rise high, as he has now successfully taken revenge for his family. His half-burnt passport then falls from the explosion. Final chapter. At the Finnish border, two soldiers hear screams, gunshots, and explosions going off on the Soviet side, with sirens going off. Atami makes it on a cart with all of his recovered wood. He shows his passport to the border guard, who recognizes Atami and salutes him. Sometime later, Atami is in the process of rebuilding his new home, and yes, he got his dog back. A group of locals approaches him with tools, and Atami thinks they are there to fight him as well. However, one of the men says he looks like he could use some help. Atami is visibly moved with gratitude, and the men proceed to help.